Yes Fit, welcome back. We're going to talk about supplements today. Who needs them and why, and kind of do they help? Are they hurting? All those benefits and gray area that we don't necessarily fully understand quite yet, because this trend of supplements keeps growing. Here with me, I have Chris.
Hello, everybody.
As always, partner in crime. So, we're going to be talking about supplements. Chris, do you take supplements?
I take supplements, and I've been taking them for a very, very long time. Long time.
I'd have to say same. Which ones do you take, if you don't mind me asking? Just a few.
Yeah, probiotics, vitamins,
okay,
multivitamins.
Yeah.
I'm now taking like pre-workouts, right? Pre-workouts.
Right. That's a stimulant.
Intro workout. So something that keeps the electrolytes up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a non-sports drink, but a better version of the sports drink.
Yeah, less sugar.
And the apple cider vinegar.
Oh.
Yeah. So now I take
that trend.
I take that in pill form.
Okay.
Yeah. So that way.
Do you like it better in pill form?
It still tastes like apple cider vinegar.
Rough.
But it's because we'll get to it. It's because you want you still need the portion of it. That's the good part.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't smell like it, that means I don't know. But there's some options. But keep going. We're not there yet.
All right. So by a standard definition, right, we want to think about supplements are something that completes or enhances something that it's added to. So it's not necessarily a direct substitute, which is kind of good food for thought there, just off the straight end of what a definition of a supplement is. Sometimes we think of, well, if I take this pill, this magic pill, then I don't need to worry about my food. And that's not necessarily true. So more specifically, dietary supplements are substances that you can add to your nutrition, to your diet that helps lower the risk of other problems such as, osteoporosis, arthritis, health risks such as diabetes, all those things. Dietary supplements come in pill form, capsules, powders, gels, liquids, you name it, they make it. So they have all kinds of different ways to make sure that you can buy your pills or your supplements, I should say, in any way that you need. But the real question is, do we need them? What are multivitamins? What's in them? Is it just a placebo? Is it just to help us feel better, confident in our nutrients? Or is it actually helping? Like, what's the science and all of that stuff? It's interesting to point out that this is a recent trend, though, right? Mm-hmm. So it hasn't been going on for forever. Supplements is kind of more of a daily conversation now and a few years back than it has been in history. So talking about back, just a few years ago, the fitness industry wasn't really tied to the supplement industry. That was more of the medical field. Now it's almost always advertised and catered to your health and wellness, your fitness regimen, your, what's in your gym bag kind of a thing. So, right now, in the last 2 years, I should say, it's estimated to be a $140 billion industry. That's wild.
I'll take a
slice out of that.
Slice out of it real quick.
It's projected to rise to $216 billion by 2026. So just in a few years, really.
It's a lot of fish oil.
Yeah.
That's what that is. We'll talk about it, but I already know.
Yes, we are
guys.
talking about it.
I know most of you guys listening to this podcast are like, yeah, that's what it is. It's the fish oil. It's everywhere.
As they take their fish oils.
Yeah, as they're taking it out. And we're going to tell you that it's good or not. I'm just kidding.
Americans, the average modern American is reported to spend about $635 annually on nutrition supplements of any kind. That, includes those, like you said, those fitness stimulants and things like that. And as far as minerals, proteins, amino acids, vitamins, all of that. But still, that's almost $700 of your money, your hard-earned cold cash.
That's what I'm spending?
Going into some vitamins.
Yeah, it's for fitness and health.
Yeah.
At least you're not spending it on the other stuff.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's just for fitness and health. So
right.
There's some justification.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But the point is that this industry is booming, and we kind of want to know why. So a lot of that stems from the fact that it's just being talked about. Now, celebrity doctors, celebrities in general, fitness influencers across all social media, they get asked to promote these products by these big name brand companies. And they're kind of talking about, these health gurus and influencers. Oh, this all natural product, this all natural supplement, this is what it does, this is what it did for me, and blah, blah, blah. And kind of the main takeaway that I want you, if you're listening, this is for you right here. I'm going to let you marinate on this one for just a second. If it worked for them, it doesn't mean it will work for you. Think about it. Let me say it again. If it worked for them, that doesn't mean it'll work for you. We all have different age, metabolisms, health conditions, you name it, all these contributing factors that you might not need and you might not have to take certain supplements to get those certain results that you're after. So just because there is this pill that's advertised to help you clean out your colon and now you're going to be skinny and you're not even going to have to go to the gym ever, that's not going to be the case, right? 9 times out of 10, you have to do something else with it. You have to have a healthy lifestyle. You have to be, someone who maybe eats very clean, who regularly is just an active person. You might not technically be at the gym, but you're still working in some sort of fashion. So all of that is contributing factors that go behind the scenes that the big corporations don't want you to necessarily think about when you're picking up a bottle and looking at the label and you're like, wow, 5 doses of my daily intake. I totally need this. That's something that, people don't tend to think about. So moving forward, what are we spending those $700 annually on? Where is the money going, right? So most common things obviously are like those multivitamins and stuff like that. But even more common than that is those fish oil or omega-3. More so than that is magnesium. Vitamin D has been growing exponentially through the last year or so. A lot of researchers and scientists can say that that's probably due to the pandemic and what that made people feel as far as their immune system. And the fact that also we're being boarded up. We're not going outside.
And vitamin D, like you said, it's it's a mood booster.
Right.
Being boarded up indoors.
Right.
Because of the pandemic.
Not getting that sunlight. Not going outside. A lot of your events got canceled.
Listen, YesFit, if you're not going outside to do these races, I don't know what you're doing, but you're getting some pretty good vitamin D being outside.
Right.
So keep at it, guys.
Right. So another one that's been kind of jumping the charts, if you will, has been B12, which has been attributed to your metabolism and your energy levels kind of being more an efficient system, if you will. Another one on this list of super popular items, green tea, apple cider vinegar. Collagen has been making its way up into the ranks for the first time ever. And that's a lot of, those skincare brands that are going to be like, this is helpful.
I've been seeing that a lot.
This makes you feel like you're 20 years younger. And so that's where all of this marketing is coming from. But how much of it is just marketing jargon and how much of it is really science? That's kind of what you have to research, right? If you're going into your medicine cabinet right now and you're looking at your your probiotics and you're looking at your vitamin C, vitamin 12, all of these things, how much of it do you actually need to take? And we'll kind of get into more depth the concerns of what that looks like here in just a sec. So, but the top 5 that nutrition and dietitians actually kind of talk about and recommend across the board. So the ones that are more popular in your medicinal kind of industry, right? The ones that are more common there are going to be the fish oil. So you were right, Chris.
Number 1.
Your fish oil is going to be one of those. Also talking about probiotics, your magnesium, your vitamin D, your protein, making sure you just get your whole kind of chain of systems. So making sure you have that fiber, you're regular, you have that vitamin D, you have that energy, you have that protein to help build muscles, restore, recover, all that fun stuff. So yeah, there's lots of that stuff that are being recommended. But again, making sure that you can get 1 to 2 opinions if if your regular doctor is suggesting, hey, you might look like you have this deficiency, or you might be a little bit low on this, according to your whatnot.
Yeah.
Make sure that you do some research still, and make sure also, this is a huge point, talking about that trip to the doctors that not a lot of people talk about. When that nurse, when that doctor, when somebody asks you, hey, are you taking any regular medication? We think medication, we think prescriptions, we think pills, we think things that we need to say. And so naturally we go, no, I'm not taking anything. Anything that's over the counter is worth mentioning, right? So if you have bad allergies for seasonal change and environments, and you take a sinus decongestion every day, worth mentioning. Likewise, if you take B12 every day because you feel like that helps your energy levels, you need to mention it. Just because you don't know which prescriptions that might interfere with that might present some harmful overlong concerns, like that you might not be already kind of in the back of your head. Of course, that's not your job as the patient, that's their job. But your job as the patient is to make sure that you tell them so.
Yeah, you need to make sure, because if you end up getting a prescription medication for, let's say, you have lower energy levels, and before that you were taking for months your vitamin B12 at a huge, 1,000, 2,000 milligram dosage, and you're going to get this actual prescription medication. And then you're going to still do the B12, and you never tell them about the B12. You may have some counteracting
adverse reactions.
Yeah, so I know you'll get into something called like supplement toxicity or vitamin toxicity.
Yeah, so that's exactly where we're going.
Yeah, so that's the same thing too. Because I'm going to tell you personally, on my point of view, a few months ago that I did go to the doctor, and you can get blood work, guys. So go to the doctor, get your blood work. Get a full panel. Everybody needs it at least once a year. You need to know, because your body does change depending on environment, depending on stress levels, depending on where you're at in your life, and they'll tell you what vitamin deficiencies that you are at high risk of, where you should be at your age group, and where you should be. And then, me being very healthy, I still had vitamin deficiencies, especially in vitamin B12.
Right.
And so that helps. That helps with energy levels, but it also helps mentally. So your mental health too helps with that. So, but just be careful with it. So I know Cece will go into something called vitamin toxicity, which is another big topic.
Yeah. So, kind of what can promote that vitamin toxicity, if we're just not knowing and we're just reading different magazine articles and self-diagnosing and being like, yeah, this is good for my body, I know it's good, there's no harm that can come from too much of this. Total false information right there. Vitamin toxicity is essentially mixing different vitamins together as much as too much of a certain kind of vitamin, and things will kind of get to this unknown level, if you will, of large doses of antioxidants and the vitamins A through C, and and these can increase risk of heart failure, also thinning of the blood. So if you are on blood thinner medication, that's huge too. So there's different things. Likewise, on vitamin D, we were just talking about, there was that huge jump in this last year of vitamin D. We want to make sure that we're healthy, that we're still glowing, that we're happy. That's great. I love that. Let's do that. But too much of it, right? We always talk about balance. Too much of it can do super harmful effects to your kidneys, and it can turn into, while it does help the immune system, it can lead to other problems in the future. Kidneys we can have stones, we can all kinds of things. So making sure that vitamin D is in check and not in a surplus is super beneficial there, just like with everything else you said. So likewise, you mentioned taking that panel. That's a great base point. It's a great place to be. But if you are taking supplements, that's also a good thing. Don't be like, oh, I'm taking supplements, I know I'm fine. You should still get like a blood panel or some kind of test to make sure that you're not in a surplus of anything and you're actually having adverse reaction or a harmful effect long term that you're doing to yourself. We don't want to, we've got one body, we want to take care of it. Talking about getting that second opinion, talking about making sure that we're talking to medical professionals that are very understanding and helpful as far as everything. So the full disclosure means you're going to tell them all your vitamins, even if you took it for a little bit and then you stopped and then you started again. Whatever your journey is, make sure that you let them know, oh, it's only when I feel tired am I taking B12. Okay, great. Well, they still need to know.
Yeah, don't,
just because you didn't take it this week doesn't mean you didn't take it.
Ever, and I'm telling you through experience and family members, don't ever not give them that data.
Right.
It's confidential between you and your health professional.
Right.
And we want you to have the best position possible to get the best health care needed. So don't be afraid to not see. So
Absolutely.
Like you said, if you're like, oh, I was only taking it for like a week, still
tell them, because it's their job to understand what that does to your body and what they're going to recommend or what they tell you to do. That's their profession. So let them do their job. You do yours and you show up and tell them.
Yes.
But talking about some of the pros, some of the reasons why we think we need them and why they're a benefit to the industry, why they have been trending so heavily, right? Just a few years back, the modern American consumed about 30% of their food more from packaged food than from fresh foods, right? Which those numbers seem kind of jarring. But just wait, because if we talk about today, within this year, it's been surveyed that 70% of our calories, our food, comes from processed foods that Americans are buying in the supermarkets and in their grocery stores as opposed to those fresh foods. So that plus economic downfall, the pandemic, a lot of people are losing their job. They want to make their dollars stretch. Totally makes sense. But all produce, all vegetables, all fun stuff like that, the fresh food, the food that we want, started to go up in prices. So it made it even harder to do the right decision because it didn't make sense economically. So those two things combined produced a huge range of Americans that now have a lack of a pool of nutrition, not just, oh, I'm deficient in this and most people aren't getting enough of this, right? Because there's lots. Most average Americans aren't getting enough fiber. The modern American is just shy of the daily protein intake, and that's if you're not trying to build muscle, right? Or you're not in a calorie surplus. So if you're just trying to maintain and sustain, you're barely hitting that mark alone. Not to mention, like we've talked about omega-3s and we talked about, so those are, even aside from that, we just have a huge jump in deficiencies. So talking about omega-3, being able to use fish oil pills and omega-3 vitamins to help actually get that daily requirement without getting, we talk about eating too much fish or raw fish that can be harmful, right? High levels of mercury. We can have too much toxin in our bodies that way as well. So getting things that are harder to find and consume in our daily diet, that's a prime example of when supplements are working in our favor, right? So it's hard. You're not going to eat fish, 4 or 5 times a week and do that long term and have, without having high risk of toxin, especially if you're having wild caught, versus farm raised, all that stuff. So making sure that we do what we can to help stabilize and balance, and not to mention you can still have your normal calories, your variation of protein. You're not eating fish for breakfast, noon, and night. You're going to be eating, your variation. You're going to be getting other nutrients while you still take that omega-3 pill or that fish oil. And it's a lot cheaper, honestly, right? Because you can get a bottle for X amount of dollars versus buying a whole farm of fish. So that's one of those instances where it makes sense. For me personally, I have a iron deficiency, so I'm anemic, and this is another one of those specialized cases where, like, I was told by my doctor, you draw my blood and it looks pink.
Sure.
I don't have enough. I don't have enough blood cells. So finding a solution to that was finding iron, because anytime meat is frozen or it's, not as fresh of a shelf life, my body doesn't absorb any of the iron content in it. Not to mention, if I'm on my plant-based cycle, I'm more, unless I'm eating spinach for everything, I'm still not making ends meet there. So having that energy to kind of push forward and find some iron efficiency, like with those supplements, I was able to be less lethargic. I was able to.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because it's definitely a struggle. You can definitely tell when my iron is low because, as anyone who is anemic will tell you, you get these really dark circles under your eyes. You look kind of dead, like a zombie. And your body's just trying to work really hard with not a lot of energy, and you feel lethargic. You feel tired. It promotes, that cranky CC that nobody likes. So we have her like when I'm low on energy. So it's super beneficial for people who have those kinds of deficiencies that their body just doesn't absorb things the way it should naturally. This is a good alternative, right? And again, not super expensive, not going to break the bank. Vitamins are proven to support mental health, kind of talking about like how it helps boost your mood just by the fact that you're doing good for your body, you're trying to do the right thing.
It's always a base, guys. So, make sure I take my multivitamins, doesn't mean that, okay, I don't have to eat any of my greens or any of the vitamin C's throughout the day. It is a good base. It's so like what CC says, it's a mental health check in your head. Check mark. First thing I did today, at least I got a good base.
Right. Yeah. You started on the right foot.
Yeah.
You got to keep it going, but you started.
Yeah.
You started in the right place. A study from the American Journal of Psychiatry found that 27 severely depressed women that were of the older half, so about 65 plus, were deficient in B12. And we associate that with a fast revving engine and kind of more energy. So by those statistics, it kind of seems, that depression can be not completely treated, but assisted with B12 with a higher energy and magnesium, which is, again, missing in almost 50% of America, right? We're not hitting.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we're not hitting that magnesium. So it's hard to find it and incorporate it in your daily to get enough. And without it, we do have a harder time dealing with stress, and it does promote some recovery issues, right? So our sleep cycle is super important for recovery and restoration and de-stressing. And we suffer from a lot of insomnia, nightmares, sleepless nights, all that kind of breaking of that cycle. So magnesium is super important, and a lot of people will incorporate that with their nighttime regimen, right? They take magnesium, they take lavender, essential oils, whatever, and they kind of put it all together for their regimen, and that helps their body restore and recover, and that's a great option. But it does help that mental health as well, right? So there's all kinds that help other things that they're not intentionally trying to help, but you have to do your research. So, making sure that vitamin supplements that can always lower your blood pressure, but if you have low blood pressure, right, you want to avoid those. And likewise, make sure that you have that sleeping pattern that's healthy, but not that you're drowsy in the morning when you're waking up and you're starting your process. We're early birds. We're up at 5 a.m. If I'm taking my magnesium or, if I'm taking a bunch of stuff that's going to help me sleep better at night, then when I'm up at 5 a.m., I'm half asleep, and that's dangerous to be on the road or coaching or doing anything like that.
Time your supplements.
Yes.
Yeah, time your vitamins.
Time it with your meals, something that helps push things through, keep it strong. So overall, a few tips, a little bit of conclusion here. If you're in the market for supplements, that means you're someone who needs them, you're deficient in something, or you're looking for a specific kind, or maybe just that multivitamin that you want to feel better overall and make sure that everything is starting on the right foot. Look for something that's a little more plant-based if you can, right? That being said, there's some exceptions, right? But always try to make sure if it's plant-based, because it generally has less fillers and it's less processed. That being said, always check your labels. I'll say it always. Always. Check your labels, right? Check for fillers. Check for anything that's not the actual vitamin or mineral you're trying to get. Especially in proteins. We'll find that a lot in protein labels. They'll put all kinds of crazy names in that label. And then it says 25 grams of protein, but they're not telling you about the other 130 calories that they're stuffing in there.
Yeah. Where's it coming from? Yeah.
Right. So check your labels always. Try to get most of your nutrients from food and not the bottle. So choose your food wisely.
Yeah, and that's me. I used to take protein shakes all the time.
Right.
In the beginning of my fitness journey, and then that wrecked my stomach. I'm not necessarily lactose intolerant, but because of a lot of protein mixes out there have whey, and so for our listeners out there, whey is dairy based.
Yeah.
And there's, obviously now, like what we said in the beginning, the industry has shifted to almost to satisfy everybody. So we have plant-based now, vegan, and all this stuff now too. So you can have your protein in supplements. I just choose now, because it wrecked my digestive system, that I just now don't do that. I just rather just get my protein straight from either chicken or meats or fish or something like that. Yeah. So just straight up that way.
Absolutely.
So again, it's your supplements have to be built by you and not by what you said earlier, by what everybody else is doing.
Right. Yeah. Find what works for you. And even if you're a vegetarian and you want to make sure that, you're not doing, or even vegan, right? You're not doing any dairy products. Vegans and vegetarians alike, you have those plant protein powders that are all plant-based, and making sure that everything is, non-dairy, animal-free products. So there's different options, but always trying to make sure that you are choosing what's best for you. They'll always tell you, right, if you want to make gains, you got to get whey. That's not necessarily the case, but that is, but it happens. And a lot of us, choose to stay with it, or you move from it depending on what you want or what you need. So, that being said, make sure you know what you need. Make sure you get that second opinion, that third opinion. Do your own research. Be an informed consumer. Don't just buy it because the celebrity you love to see on TV says she lost X amount of pounds on it. Like, that's great. Good for her. She's glowed up. But that doesn't mean that it'll happen to you, and that doesn't mean that product's going to work in the same way. And she's not on prescriptions, but you might be, and that might play into everything. So always, last final tip, ask a dietitian, ask a registered nutritionist. Make sure that you know your stuff, you're very well versed, and if you feel any changes, always, more than a dietitian, more than any other recommendation, listen to your body, listen to yourself. If you start feeling uncomfortable, if you start feeling adverse reaction to it, if you start feeling any kind of way, that's the moment where you stop and you seek medical attention. You ask for help, even if it's just advice, even if it's, you just weren't drinking enough water with this. Okay, good to know. Didn't know. But now you do, right? So never be shy. Always ask. You can ask us, Coach Chris.
You can comment on it. We'll plug all that stuff at the end of this.
You can always ask us. Feel free to reach out. If we don't know the answer, we will definitely get a professional in here that does. So find your solution. Find your best supplements. Find your best regimen, whatever that means for you. And that's all we have today.
That's it. That was a good, quick one.
Yeah.
So, all right, don't forget,
Short
guys.
and sweet, but packed with information.
Yeah, if you do want to contact us.
Yes.
Instagram at YesFitChallenges.
Yes.
All right, so if you guys listen to our podcast, Instagram at YesFitChallenges. You can go to our Facebook at Facebook at yes.fit. And then we're also on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe, comment, especially if you have those questions about supplements or anything that we've did cover. Yeah. Please comment, like, subscribe.
Absolutely.
Cece, thank you for the information.
Yeah,
and we'll be back again doing this all the time.
Yeah, see you soon.
See you guys. Bye.